I'm Yogesh. I have been working for worked in Wipro for past 3 years, and I have coming from the background of Microsoft Power Automate, and here I'm here to learn the Azure Data Engineering. Thank you.
Uh, Okay, you have Power Automate experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Karthik?
Y-
Hi, I have around 10 years of experience in Java and Big Data and Spark technologies. So
Okay.
just want to move into Azure area now. I have little knowledge on Databricks and ADF part. So I'm looking for the real-time things, how it works, and I want to move into Azure area, work on that part.
Okay. So the Spark Databricks experience that you have is with any cloud, or how is it, or any on?
Spark is with on-premise clusters.
Okay.
Azure knowledge is there, like Databricks knowledge and ADF little bit. So I just
Okay.
want to move into Azure data engineering role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your experience and the introduction. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. My name is Yogesh. I have like 18 years of IT experience and more than 8 years into the big data technologies and the cloud experience as well, and mainly into the Azure cloud. I have like banking, finance, automotive, telecom, healthcare, e-learning, like various domain industry experience I'm having. I played like various roles like cloud big data technology architect, the product manager, scrum master, the data science technical architect, various roles I have played. I have experience into the Microsoft Azure Data Platform and basically the Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, Azure Synapse Analytics, Azure Data Explorer, and the new tool which is Microsoft Fabric. And apart from that, I have experience into Microsoft Purview, which is a data governance tool, basically, which is again in the Azure cloud. And apart from that, I have experience into the Azure DevOps for the CI/CD part. Then like automation using Azure PowerShell and the ARM templates. And apart from that, I have experience into Azure Machine Learning Studio, Azure AI Studio, as well Azure SQL Database, and the storage services, Azure Key Vault, the virtual machines, the networking part, the Azure stack, basically the Azure services stack, apart from the data platform related services. So coming to the course, this course is mainly focused on the DP203 certification, but recently Microsoft expired or retired this certificate on the 31st March, because they want to promote the new certificate, that is DP 600 and 700, which is related to the Microsoft Fabric service. So that's the reason they retired this. But a lot of the projects in the industry are based on this certification right now. Certification in the sense there are openings, or the current role the data engineers are working are based on this certificate right now. So there is no meaning of going through the certificate related points because this is expired or retired now. So I'll go through the details about what we will learn as part of this course. So mainly we'll learn about the Azure Cloud basics, what is the hierarchy within the Azure Cloud, how to set up the account and then use different services, how to use the free account for 1 month. Within that, again, we will mainly go through the storage account services and ADL Agent 2 service. We will understand the components of the service and then how to configure these services, how to integrate these services with other Azure services. We'll then mainly look at the Azure Data Factory, which is ETL, extract, transform, and load, data copy and data orchestration tool, and the service orchestration tool. So this is very popular in the industry. Even if you learn this and master into this, so you can get a job. So each service will become a kind of job for you as part of this course. So as you make the expertise into the specific area, or as part of this course, we will also take you to basic to intermediate knowledge. We will also learn the Azure Databricks. We will learn execute some of the PySpark, Scala, and Spark SQL code. We will also learn the Unity catalog related, that is the latest in the Databricks. We will learn about the Delta Lake tables and the Lakehouse architecture for Databricks. So the intermediate level of knowledge you will get for each service, because the syllabus is huge. We will be going to basic to intermediate steps or the configuration and knowledge about these services. Then we will learn about the Synapse Analytics service, which is the SQL warehouse. So it is similar to traditional SQL warehouse. On top of that, it will also consist of the ADL agent too. And whatever we do as part of Databricks, we can do similar things into the Synapse Analytics. The difference here is that it is Microsoft cluster, Spark cluster that we will use. In case of Azure Databricks, we use the cluster created by the Databricks organization. In Synapse Analytics, it is Microsoft in-house Spark clusters we are going to use. Apart from that, there are like dedicated SQL warehouse are there, serverless SQL warehouse are there, data explorer related compute services are there. So a lot many features are there with compared to the Synapse Analytics service, and that is like combination of these kind of services we can say. Then we have the Azure Stream Analytics service. This is basically for processing the streaming data, and all of these are used for batch processing of the data. And then we have the Azure Event Hub service. So this is again related to the streaming data ingestion part. And we will have the Microsoft Purview Data Governance Introduction. So there is a separate course basically, but as part of this DP203 certification, they recently introduced the data governance part as well. So as part of the course, again, we will have the basics of SQL, Python, and Scala, which we will execute on the Databricks notebooks, where we will be using the Spark clusters. Spark clusters is basically having the distributed data processing capabilities where it will have a driver node and the worker node. So data and the processing function will be distributed across the worker nodes, and the results will be sent back to the driver node, and that the user can see it from the UI. So that is the internal architecture that also we will discuss. Also, we will discuss about the architecture patterns, the modern data warehouse or the lakehouse architecture. What is big data? What are the main key things about the big data? The lakehouse architecture, the star schema, and the snowflake schema. So these are like interview questions again, the lakehouse architecture, the star schema, snowflake schema. This is basically while you design the data warehousing solution, how should you ingest the data? How should you data model it basically? So that is related to warehousing related architecture patterns. Lakehouse is basically within the Databricks and the Synapse Analytics, how you store and process the data. So we will learn about the cloud services. We will learn about storage, the ETL, ELT part, the data security, data governance, and data visualization related part. We are going to see what is the type of the data. So in general, any data analytics project, we have to start with data copy activities or data movement activities. For that, we need to understand what are my data sources. So we are going to see the end-to-end architecture. What are my data sources? For example, the most of the organization, they have the on-premise setup. Like they have their own SQL servers or Oracle servers. They have their own web application setup, which is created on-premise. They are not yet migrated to the cloud. So if they need to migrate to the cloud, they need to bring their on-premise data to the cloud. And for that, we use the Azure Data Factory service, which is having like more than 100 of connectors. That is like UI based tool only. You do not need to write any kind of code and you can do data copy activity. This is very widely used tool in the industry, and this is simpler to learn as well and implement it. And you can just get a job based on this service itself. So what this service will do is it can connect to any number of data sources. So in the industry, like different organizations, they are using different types of data sources. For example, SQL Server, the Oracle Server, Teradata, the Sybase, the different file systems, SAP data, mainframe data, or they have the data set up into different cloud systems as well, like Google Cloud or AWS or Salesforce. So there are like hundreds of data sources are there, and there will be requirement to copy the data from these data sources into Azure cloud. And for that, we use the Azure Data Factory service. And to once we copy the data, we can store that inside the Azure storage account or ADLS Gen 2 account. That is Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, which is advanced version of the storage account. Then we have the Azure SQL database for storing the relational data. We have the Cosmos DB, where we can use the NoSQL database for semi-structured data. And then Azure Synapse Analytics, which is a warehouse solution. So we can bring the data from any number of sources to the Azure ecosystem, and then we can use the Azure Databricks for processing purpose or machine learning development purpose. We can use Synapse Analytics also for data processing. So mainly storage and compute, that is the requirement of the big data, because the data will be always in GBs or terabytes or petabytes of data that you will deal when you will work on any project. But the end-to-end architecture will remain same like what we are seeing right now. There will be requirement of migrating the data from on-prem to cloud, or if there are existing projects which already have the data in cloud, there will be also requirement of data migration as well as data processing using the Synapse Analytics or Databricks service. So once you process the data, once you ingest the data, how what you can do is you can connect it with the web application, or you can again send back it to these Azure SQL database or ADL agent 2. And then you can use it inside the Power BI for reporting purpose, the visualization purpose, or you can send that data back to the on-prem systems as well. So my sources can be anything, my end targets can be anything. And within that, we will be using these services. So process data can be used for like machine learning or AI related or any kind of use case or reporting, creation of the reports, visualizations, or that can be sent back to the on-prem systems. So there can be any requirement, but you will work in this end-to-end flow at any stages. So either you will just focus on, like depending on your role, either you will work on this specific area of data ingestion, or either you will work on the Databricks related part for data processing related work, or you may get involved into the end-to-end setup as well. So that depends on your exact responsibilities. But this course covers like all these services and how to use all these services. So when you will work in a project, you will know what exactly you are doing, where exactly you are working in your whole project setup. So we have seen these types of the different types of the data sources, and targets can be anything as well within Azure cloud, or there can be requirement of copying the data from on-prem to on-prem also. So that is also supported by the Azure Data Factory. So that's the reason. What are my data sources? This is important question. What are my targets or sink? This is called as sink basically. So from where to where I need to bring the data, and what processing is expected on that data. So that will be your main key responsibilities. So you need to understand these things. You need to ask these questions when you enter in a new project or when you are starting a discussion with the client. You should ask these questions. What is then on top of that, you can ask the what is my size of the data? What are the frequencies that I need to copy this data from this location to this location? So these are additional two questions again. Apart from that, the main important key thing is type of the data. So in the industry right now, there are three basic terms are there. One is structured data, which is the traditional relational database related data. Or we can say the data stored into CSV files or Excel files, where we have the data in terms of the rows and columns, where we can query the data. And that is the reason it is called as structured. The another type of the data is semi-structured data, which is kind of JSON or XML files, where we have the data stored in terms of the tags. The data in JSON, where we will have the nested tags, same in the XML. So we will have requirement to process that data also. So that is the semi-structured data. Unstructured data is basically the data which is written in raw language format, raw English language. For example, the continuous tweets happening on the Twitter website. That is unstructured data. You cannot query the data related to the like any comments provided by the like the different users. Same on the Facebook data. Same on the Instagram, the comments provided. Or there are, let's say, different blog posts are there, the comments provided by the users. Or the when you purchase something on Amazon, you provide the product reviews there. So that data we can consider it as the unstructured data, where you cannot query that data. And for that, you have to use the natural language processing to process that data. So different use case again, the machine learning, AI related work. You can use the generative AI, the latest technology for on the unstructured data basically. You have the another type as images, videos, audio files, Word files, the PDF files. So it is not like similar to the traditional use cases where always you will have the relational database or relational tables to work on. Since the type of the data change, the storage types and the processing types and the engines, they changed or they are available in the market now. So we have to process, understand the types of data. Is it my structured data, semi-structured data, or unstructured data? And based on that, you will design the storage solution. So the basically this course focus on data movement thing, data copy activity related thing, how you manage the storage services, or what are the purposes of each of these services, when to use what. And for the data processing purpose, we have the compute capabilities or the clusters to process the data. Any question on this? That will be your end-to-end project architecture. Basically, you will have any type of sources and any type of things, and you need to use these services in between. So right now, these services are standalone services, meaning that these are separate services we need to create within the Azure cloud. And then we need to integrate these services. So this new certification, that is DP600 and DP700, is related to Microsoft Fabric service. And this Fabric is also a combination of all these services basically. That is into a new service within the single umbrella. This is the Microsoft Fabric architecture. If you see here, they have the data factory, the Synapse engineering, data science, machine learning related part, the real-time data processing, which is similar to Azure Data Explorer service. Then you have the Power BI for reporting purpose. So only thing they did inside the Fabric is the individual existing services they clubbed inside this Fabric architecture. And the storage service is one lake. So this is again different certification and different course is there for this one. So this is a new architecture, and they are Microsoft is promoting for this one. The current all the projects are related to this architecture that we are seeing, where we can have any types of databases. We need to move that data to the Azure cloud, process the data using either Databricks or the Azure Synapse Analytics, create the reporting part, or use it inside the Azure SQL database, or copy that back to the on-prem systems, or connect it to the web application. So you can see that there are like multiple services and n number of permutations and combinations are there. So different organizations will have different requirements, and that's the reason there are many job roles available for the Azure Data Engineer. And these process data can be used for the data science, machine learning, or AI, NLP, any kind of processing use case. So all these architecture, the existing architectures or projects are related to the existing different services and then integrating those services. In Microsoft Fabric, they bring everything together. It is a combined single analytical solution for all your project needs. So that is a enterprise level architecture we have as a new service from the Microsoft. That is also very good. Like it has its own features. So 90 to 95% all the configurations and things will also be similar inside the Microsoft Fabric, because they bring all these existing services there itself. Only some kind of configuration changes will be there. So you can have like file system, SQL Server, or anything, and then you can migrate these services to on-prem. So there will be lift and shift approach when the organizations are doing the migration projects. Either they will use the similar mapping services in the cloud, or they will keep some of the like services on-prem and some of the cloud services they will use. So that is combination of hybrid, we can say. And some in some cases they will use the lift and shift approach when they want to migrate from the on-prem to the cloud. So what are the cloud systems? We will learn these the data engineering related important services like as we discussed. So we discussed about the types of the data, like as I mentioned, the structured data, which is relational tables, CSV, Excel, Parquet file format. So this is very famous right now. This is a compressed file format that will be used to store the big data and process the big data. On top of that, we have the Delta format. Again, it is a structured data and it is having the additional capabilities. This is used in the Databricks. This is very famous in the industry and popularly used in the industry. When you have JSON XML, the data is stored in the key pair values or tags, and this is your semi-structured data. So you can go into any project where you will have different types of requirements. In some cases, you may have to process the TXT file, Word files, PDF, images, audio files, or video files. And that is called as unstructured data, where you cannot query the data similar to the traditional relational databases. Even you cannot store these data into the traditional data warehousing solutions like SQL database or Oracle database. You cannot put the PDF Word files or images there or the TXT files, and you cannot process that data as well. So for that, we have the different storage service or storage account for storing huge amount of these type of unstructured data. We can do data processing using PySpark inside the Databricks or Synapse Analytics. We can write the Python code to process these, use the specific libraries to work on these type of data. And the size of the data, as we discussed, it will be in GBs, terabytes, or petabytes of data. So important is what are my data sources, sinks, what are the data processing that thing I need to do on the data, what is the business use case. So depending on the industry, let's say telecom, healthcare, Then you have the manufacturing industry, banking industry, sometimes US government related projects will be there. So different use cases will be there depending on the industry. And you may get fit into any type of the industry, and then you need to check what are these things as part of your project. So there are these different roles in the big data. Basically, the data engineer, he will work on the designing, developing, and managing the data pipeline. This is important. The end-to-end flow of this, how you can ingest the data, how you can process the data, how you can transfer it from one location to another. All this end-to-end pipeline you need to set up as a data engineer, so that the next chain where it will be used will not break. So that is, and you need to set up the alerts as well, like something goes wrong, the data pipeline fails. You need to generate email alerts and fix the or troubleshoot and fix the issues related to your data pipeline. This end-to-end flow is called as data pipeline or data flow. How your data is flowing from one system to another system. So that's the reason the key responsibility of data engineer is developing the pipelines, do the data processing things or ETL, end-to-end ETL, manage the alerts. So in this case, they are saying you should be proficient with Python, Scala, and SQL. So you may use any of these languages, all of these languages, or you may not use also, because if you are going with Azure Data Factory, that is no code based tool. You may not require this coding expertise as well. Apart from that, they have the other open source technologies like Apache Airflow, Apache Nifi, and then the expectation is to have any cloud experience when you go for any data engineering responsibilities. Data architect, he will basically design and develop the strategies like what we discussed, the end-to-end architecture just now. So he will work with the business, and he will work with the teams also, the data engineering team, to implement the solution. He will have the like end-to-end architecture design, and also he will like develop and design the services, the data warehousing solution, data modeling related part, the database design part. He will work on that. He will guide you on how to set up the end-to-end ETL process. And he will have the business understanding and the domain understanding. He will work with the team as well as he will work with the client for the business understanding, translating the business requirements into the functional requirements. And he will assist you in during the troubleshooting of the different types of development work. Data analyst is mainly focused on the visualization related part, the data, creating the dashboards or reports. He can work on Tableau and Power BI, or he can create the customized dashboards using Python libraries as well. So the main focus is basically generating the reports. The person is not much worried about what's happening behind the scenes, like this end-to-end flow. He is focused on this Power BI report, let's say example, or Tableau report creation part. He is not worried about what is happening. As a data engineer, your responsibility is what data will be required by this data analyst, you need to provide to him. So as a data engineer, you will coordinate work with data architect, data analyst, the data scientist, the machine learning engineers. So you should know what they are doing, and you can also explain what you are doing. Data scientist, so the process data can be used by the data scientist. They will build the machine learning models or the predictive insights on that data. So they should be expertise into Python, R, and then they should have the domain expertise. They should be have experience into machine learning models or algorithms. AI engineer, he will have the experience into natural language processing or computer vision for image processing. How the he will work on like TensorFlow and the PyTorch related frameworks. How he can do the processing of the unstructured data basically. So designing and developing the AI related systems, including the like image processing and natural language processing. Or latest in this is the generative AI. So next is the ML engineer. He is focused on deploying the managing the machine learning models in the production environment. So in some cases there will be overlap. So data engineer can also play as a data analyst. So depending on the project budget, so same person may be asked to create the reports also. Or data analyst may also get involved if he is interested, and he can also work with the data engineers. He can assist the data engineers as well if there is a time. So in some cases, the data engineer and data scientist, these roles may also overlap depending on the project budget and the interest of the candidates as well. Sometimes these will be, each role will be standalone separate role. But you should know what exactly are the roles and responsibilities in the big data ecosystem. These are like high level roles, and then you can see the solution architects will be there, cloud admins will be there, cloud security engineers will be there. So these are again different roles which are there. So we will be learning this end-to-end flow. We will be learning these services like Azure Data Factory, Databricks, the Synapse Analytics, ADL Agent to Stream Analytics, EventHub. And as part of that, we will be also learning this end-to-end flow. And then we will also start our course with the cloud basics, Azure Cloud Basics. What is cloud, and then different types of cloud services, and what is the difference between on-premise to cloud, and then how these different cloud providers are there, how these services are mapped between these cloud services providers, how to create the um, free account for the Azure and use it, how to like what is the hierarchy within the Azure portal, how to create the resources or services in Azure. So we will learn all these things as part of this course. What is the hierarchy in the Azure portal? So we will start with the basics, and then we will go into the detail of each services that we discussed. ADF, Databricks, storage account, ADL agent to Synapse Analytics. Any questions you have?
No.
So we will go through, like if we start the course, we will go through the basics of cloud. We'll understand the comparison between the on-prem and cloud, and then we will start with these services. So as we understood the architecture, how we will use these services in that architecture, where those will fit, how to configure these services, what are the components of these services, when to use what, how to configure, all that things we will be learning as part of this course. So if you have any specific questions or any requirements that we can discuss. So the recent advancement or evolution is the Microsoft Fabric architecture. So in coming years, there will be projects migrating from the current architecture that we have seen to Fabric architecture. So this is again like not yet completely adopted by the industry. So Gradually the industry is started utilizing this one. So in coming years you can see the requirement related to Fabric, and Fabric is based on the architecture of these services that we are going to see as part of the data engineering course. So there are different stack of certifications from the Microsoft. There is like DP100 is there, AI 102 is there. So as you grow your knowledge with these services, understanding of the data storage and data processing, you can increase your scope with the data scientist. Like let's say DP100 certification is there, AI related 102 certification is there, then Power BI different certification is there. So each service can bring you one job. So if you are mainly looking for the job switch, you need to put efforts from your end to just practice this from your own account. So we will cover all the conceptual part as well as the labs also. I will show the demonstration in the Azure portal. We will create the service, we will use those services. So if you have any specific question for the course or any other thing, we can discuss that. Or if you have different expectations or understanding, we can check that as well.
Karthik, you said you have some questions, right? Last time when we are discussing, like you said you want to discuss about some real-time scenarios.
Yeah, yeah. So my requirement is bit different. Like the real time scenarios which I'm asking is like the bridge the gap between the training part. What Yogesh was telling is the training part, but apart from training part, I want something where the gap, like moving into like on-premise clusters knowledge what I have to Azure data engineering role. So that is the area I want to focus on. So that will be entirely different. So maybe I can
No,
take
that's not.
something. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, that won't be entirely different. So whatever you have the on-prem Spark clusters, you will have the Databricks clusters here, or you will have the let's say the Synapse clusters. So as you learn these services, you will be able to map whatever the current work that you are doing on on-prem and how it is easy to do the similar things in the cloud. So you will
Yeah, yeah.
automatically
But
feel that difference as you start learning these services.
yes, but I do have some knowledge on this part. But the main thing is like how I will transit onto that. Like main thing will be like the real time scenarios where like the job is running for more than 1 hour. How we handle that one, and where if job is failed, where I can see the log and how I am going to analyze those logs. And also, if we say Metastore, the difference between Hive Metastore and Catalog Metastore, how what okay, Unity
Yeah,
Catalog.
that we are going to see. Yeah, that we are going
Yeah,
to see
those
when we.
things. Yeah, those
Mhm.
things I'm looking at mainly. So if it
So
works, then we can.
yeah, so those will be discussed when we will start the Azure Databricks service. So we
Okay.
have the same Hive Metastore in Azure Databricks, which is now legacy. So
Okay.
they introduced a concept of Unity Catalog now. So
Yeah.
that is the reason when we will come to that service, like after we finish the storage, ADLS, data factory, we will reach out to Databricks service. So as I mentioned, the syllabus is huge. You need to be patient while learning all these services. So real-time things also we are going to discuss when we will like work on specific service. That's what I mentioned. Service configuration components, when to use what, and what kind of issues you may face. So Databricks architecture we are going to see in detail. And then during that, we will also see about the Hive Metastores Unity catalog. So you will feel that it is more easier than what you do in the on-prem.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah.
So
Thank
during that service, when we will learn that service, will surely go through these things. So let me come to the
you.
Databricks architecture.
Okay.
So what are the different types of workloads are there within Databricks? Why we need to use Databricks service? What capabilities it provides? So we are going to see all these detailed architecture. What are the pricing tiers? Even the real-time things like as you mentioned, how to like fine tune the performance of the any job. So basically you will not face any kind of issues, but if you face what software options or as well as the cluster options are there to fine tune the job. So you can increase the cluster size, or you can use the cache or persist methods, or you can use the Z order or optimize. These are again software related options where you can optimize the performance of your query. You can see the job execution inside the Databricks notebooks. You can, if you have worked on the Jupyter notebooks, it is similar to that. So all these use cases we are going to see, we are going to run sample codes we are going to run the sample data processing also. And we are going to see architectures of these services also. Which services will be part of the Databricks, which services will be hosted in the Azure, what are all the components that we are going to see. And the latest is the Unity catalog part is there. This Delta Lake format is there for data storage and implementation. I think that won't be there in on-prem. So these atomicity, schema enforcement, version history, time travel, those also we will compare with respect to that. Then this Unity catalog, as I mentioned, centralized metastore. This is a new thing which was not there previously. So Hive is becoming the legacy which is still there inside the Databricks. Hive will store the metadata information about the tables. Now everything will be governed through the Unity catalog. That is a new feature. This was not there previously. And we will be writing the codes inside this Databricks notebooks. So that difference you will surely get to know as we learn that service. These components architecture we are going to see in detail, the cluster management, cluster creation, the control plane and data plane, which are kind of again interview questions basically. The Databricks file system, DBFS. So when we jump on that specific service, we will see that details. Types of clusters again, cluster modes, and where exactly it fits during the data processing part, end-to-end architecture. So we are going to see all these details as part of the service. So Metastore is also there, the component. So it will have the data storage, Hive Metastore notebooks to execute the code. It is also having the SQL warehouse. That is also new thing which was not there previously. So whatever you do on premise, yeah, surely there will be difference with respect to the service configurations. So we have all that components as part of this course. But we are going step by step. Like first, we will learn about like we just seen the end-to-end architecture, and then we are going to start with the cloud basics, and then the each service, each of these services. So I'll stop sharing. Do you have any other question?
No, Yogesh, I got it.
Yeah. So you can discuss with Ganesh and we can plan it accordingly.
So any questions, Logesh?
No, Ganesh.
Okay. Karthik?
No, Ganesh. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll speak to you, then we can plan accordingly.